Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. My name's Nigel from Discover Canada Tours. We're really excited to be launching a new video series called Canadian Skills 101. It's all about some really cool activities or skills you should experience or get to know while you're living or studying here in Canada. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a campfire. No. I'm going to show you an easy and safe way to build a campfire. We're going to be discussing some of the basics, some important things to know before we get started, and of course, how to build the campfire. So first of all, why are fires so important to our culture and our heritage? Well, if you've ever been here in the winter or you've heard about Canadian winters, you'll know it's really cold. And so the First Nations people and the early settlers needed to have fires to stay warm and to be able to cook their food. But now it's become a great way to relax, connect with friends, or if you're on one of our Discover Canada or WestTrek tours, it's a great way to connect with new people and make new friends. Before you get started building your fire, it's very important to check with regulations to find out if there are any seasonal fire bans in effect, or if you're in a no-burn area. For example, you cannot go into Stanley Park and have a campfire at any time of the year. A lot of the national parks or provincial parks will have seasonal fire bans in effect during the summertime to help prevent forest fires. A lot of the campsites you're going to visit and some hotels will have their own fire pit, and they will let you know if you can have a fire or not. All right, let's get started. I just want to show you guys some different options you have when it comes to fire starters. So of course we have our newspaper, but then there's this fire starter which is like a candle, but it's made to put in the fire and you light it and let it go. And these are fire starter sticks which are soaked in a chemical that helps start the fire. And of course we have a couple of different types of lighters and some matches. So really it's up to you. I usually just go with the newspaper and a lighter. This is what our firewood looks like when you split it into smaller pieces and kindling. We're going to have another video coming out soon which is going to talk more about how to actually chop firewood. When you're picking a spot to have a fire, you want to look out for hazards. So you don't want to be in a forest where there's dry branches that could catch fire, and you don't want to be in a field where there's old dry grass that could catch fire. This area where I have my fire pit has been cleared, so there's dirt and gravel, and I know that there's no hazards around here. So most fire pits will be a ring made of metal, or in this case I have brick, or maybe you could use stone, or if you're on a beach, you could build your fire pit out of sand. When you're having a fire, you also want to have a hose or bucket so that you can have water, just in case the fire gets out of hand, and at the end of the night you need to put out the fire. So in this case, I'm going to take my bucket, I'm going to go down to the creek and fill it up. To have a fire, of course we're going to need some wood. So right now I've got some nice dry pine. Some of the other woods that you'll find commonly in BC are going to be cedar, spruce, and fir. These are all softwoods. They dry out well and they burn really easily. You're also going to need an axe to split up your wood. So you split your wood and you end up with smaller pieces we call kindling. You're also going to need some paper or a fire starter. In this case I've got an old newspaper. And of course, you're going to need a lighter. There's a lot more to it than just stacking the wood and trying to light it. That doesn't work out. So I'm going to show you some of the basic techniques. There's a few different ways of stacking wood once you start building the fire. The first one is called the pyramid. The second one is called the log cabin because you start to build it up by putting the pieces on the side. Another method I call the lean-to, and this would be used if maybe it's windy and you need to build it up against one side to protect the fire from the wind. So you can use whatever method you prefer. But I usually go with a combination of the pyramid to start and then build the log cabin around it. And I'll show you how I do that. So if the ground were wet, you could start by putting a couple of pieces down first before you build your kindling pile, so that the wet ground doesn't suck the heat out of your kindling fire. But it's pretty dry, so we're going to start by building our fire just on the dirt. Alright, we're going to add in some newspaper. I like to add in some blocks of wood first, and then start building And then you can start adding your kindling sticks to this. I'm gonna add more paper just to make sure this one goes up. So you don't have to be too particular about how you stack it. Just make sure you have lots of kindling. It's better to have too much than not enough. Stack it all in there. All right, so we've added lots of kindling to this. So you could light it now and keep adding up, or you could build up your log cabin if you wanted to do that by adding some on the sides. So let's say we do this, then you light it, then as you add more kindling in, you can start putting it in between this way. All right, that looks pretty good. I'd say we should light it now. So I've heard people say that if you build a good fire, you should only have to light it once. So it doesn't take much for it to start going. Now that we're seeing some flamage, you can keep adding some kindling. And now that it's going, you can keep adding to the log cabin. All right, my friends, thank you so much for checking out this video. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more exciting videos coming out every week. If you have any questions or comments, or if there's something you want us to cover in a future video, make sure you bloop it down in the comments. Use the code Campfire to get a 10% discount on your next Discover Canada or West Trek trip. I can't wait to see you out on the next adventure. I'm Nigel, and this has been Canadian Skills 101.